The Municipal Demarcation Board conference will be held at the end of June, and it will address the issues about the Demarcation Act. This follows the recent violent protests in Vuwani and Limpopo, where residents were unhappy about demarcation. Joining us in studio this morning is Dzengwa, a chairperson of the Municipal Demarcation Board. Simpiwe, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Leanne, and good morning to viewers.
Tell us who are the Municipal Demarcation Board, and what are your responsibilities?
The Municipal Demarcation Board was established through the Municipal Demarcation Act, an Act of Parliament in 1998, to do two things, essentially. One, to determine municipal borders, and two, to delimit wards and do capacity assessments and advise government accordingly.
Yeah. All right, so let's have a look at some of the worries of communities. And I mean, the latest we can think of is what happened in Vuwani. Very, very unhappy about the demarcation process, and to the detriment of the school children living there, with schools being burnt down with all of that. Do you think anarchy about demarcation is caused by residents that are not being consulted?
Not necessarily, and it's a combination of factors. It's actually not just only Vuwani. In our consultations in various communities, we've picked it up that, firstly, people are misinformed or underinformed about demarcation issues. Secondly, we have identified a need for massive public education on government processes, on demarcation issues, and so on. Now, the Demarcation Board intends putting together all those experiences, engage various stakeholders, and get them to make inputs on the kind of reforms in the Demarcation Act, but also in the processes followed by the Demarcation Board in executing its responsibilities. That's the essence of the conference.
You say they're misinformed. How can you say they're misinformed? Do you inform them? Do you actually talk, sit down, perhaps meet in a town hall, talk to them about what's going to happen?
We make it a point, and whenever we engage with communities, that we first explain the criteria used by the board in taking its decisions. Secondly, the Demarcation Act is available to everyone, to all stakeholders, so that people can familiarize themselves with it. So in the process of engaging communities, we don't only just ask them to write to us, but we meet with them, engage with them, clarify what is in the Demarcation Act, which is also a frustration to us, some elements of it. Hence, we're saying stakeholders, please make informed inputs, come engage with us, so that if there needs to be amendments to the Demarcation Act, we can all speak with one voice on those issues.
Yeah, because clearly it's not working when we talk about the consultation with the communities, because this is not the first time that a demarcation issue has been at the heart of very violent protests that we were seeing happening. I mean, this has been happening over and over again. And what I'm gathering from this conference and this meeting that you're going to be having is that a new strategy on public participation is on the agenda. So is this an admission from you that the public participation process is not working?
What we're saying, Len, is that there's a combination of issues. One, we need to look at the Demarcation Act and see which areas of it need amendment. Secondly, we do feel, as well as the board, that the public participation instrument can be enhanced. Thirdly, we do feel as well that some decisions taken by the board, for instance, to create viable municipalities, are not always borne out by experience. And therefore, the demarcation instrument may not be a panacea for all problems in municipalities. Hence, we want to put all these items on the table, engage with all the key players, and find joint solutions to them.
Yeah, there's been a lot of speculation and I suppose criticism from certain parties saying that the Demarcation Board is not impartial and that there is political influence. How do you dispute this?
We don't dispute that, except to say it would be interesting that almost all parties have had issues with the Demarcation Board. The governing party, for instance, in a number of its conferences, has pronounced or taken resolutions to change certain elements of the Demarcation Act and how the Demarcation Board operates. Other parties have taken us to court and they challenged the board again on a number of issues. And the court has always granted on our behalf. So we're saying the fact that we're being criticized by everyone perhaps is an indication in itself that we're independent.
Yeah. All right. So how do you determine, though, how does it work? How do you determine how big a ward is going to be or how small a ward is going to be?
As I've alluded, there is a criteria. There is a gazette that is usually put out by the Minister of Cogta and the provincial MECs responsible for local government. That says in a particular ward, you have a minimum number of registered voters and a maximum number of registered voters. Hence, you'll find in certain instances where the numbers are few, such as in Northern Cape, you have vast wards because we're trained to make those minimum numbers. Whereas in other areas, we have had to split villages in between because there's more numbers over and above the allowed threshold. And it is some of those issues that we want to put to the table and say, how do we better manage them so that at the end we don't just implement the Demarcation Act mechanistically, but we use it as an instrument to bring development in our country.
At the heart of all of this is service delivery, because I think what communities feel is that if they are part of a certain ward or province, this service delivery goes down, and others feel that they get better service than other communities. From your experience, I mean, how is service delivery affected by the demarcation process?
It does get affected, Leanne, because if you stay in Ward 2 in a particular municipality and you have signed up your name in the list of people in that ward who are going to be getting, for example, houses, and then all of a sudden you wake up the following day, you are under Ward 5, it means you lose out on the benefits that you had signed up for under Ward 3. And that's why people see it as a problem. But we've said development covers wall to wall in our municipalities, and ward boundaries are not, borders. It doesn't mean that you are not staying in South Africa or in a particular municipality, and that local government can better shape up by providing services according to everyone.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Constitutional Court now, because the residents of Vuwani are not taking this lying down. They have approached the Constitutional Court. Obviously, you're very much so aware of this. What's the process going forward?
Without arrogance, we've welcomed the action of the Vuwani community. We say we prefer rather that let's go to court and contest the issues that are so aggrieving the community instead of banning and other action that we've seen happening over the past couple of weeks. We are going to be meeting with the community leaders. We are going to be meeting through our lawyers at the Constitutional Court, and we're hoping that perhaps once and for all, the Constitutional Court will give guidance on this matter, and there will be peace in Vuwani and in other areas.
Just finally, who will be present at this conference? I mean, will active decisions be taken? And if you feel and if it arises that there needs to be a change to the Demarcation Act, is that a possibility? That's
why, Leanne, we've invited all political parties to participate. We've invited Parliament to participate, government, the presidency, communities, House of Traditional Leaders, and other stakeholders, because we don't want this conference to be just a talk shop. The resolutions and recommendations must be what guide government in amending the Demarcation Act, but it must be also what informs the future actions of the Demarcation Board. All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thanks so much for coming to talk to us. Simpiwe Dzengwa, he's the chairperson of the Municipal Demarcation Board, talking to us here on Morning Live. Thank you. Thanks so much. There's going to be a conference at the end of the month. It's happening in June, at the end of June, to talk about all demarcation issues and the Act as well. And if need be, an amendment to the Act will be made, especially when it comes to the consultation, when it comes to different communities and the demarcation thereof.